Hi, good morning everyone. Welcome to episode 36 of the Knitting Expat Podcast. My name is Mina and I'm coming to you from my home in Bahrain. Thank you for joining me today. Welcome to all new and returning viewers. Thank you so much for checking me out if it's your first time, and thank you for coming back if you are returning. Places you can find me. You can find me on Instagram as Mina Phillip, on Ravelry as Mina86. We have a podcast group on Ravelry, which is the Knitting Expat Podcast. I blog the show notes at knittingexpat.wordpress.com, and I have an Etsy store where I sell handmade project bags that I make myself, and that's Mina Makes on Etsy. And all of that is linked below in the description box on YouTube, in the episode thread on the Ravelry group, on the homepage of the Ravelry group, and on the WordPress show notes blog. So wherever you are watching this video, and those are the places you can find them, YouTube, Ravelry and the blog, you will be able to find the links to where you can find me. Right, so I will start with something that may be pretty obvious to all of you who are returning, is that I'm sick because I don't sound like myself and I don't feel very great right now. I was really unwell yesterday, didn't really get much. Actually, I was surprisingly productive for being so sick. I didn't get a lot of the things I wanted to get done finished, but I did get a lot of knitting done on the other hand, so I guess that wasn't a total loss. Yeah, I woke up, I don't know what it is. I woke up yesterday morning with the worst sore throat, and it's happened to me before. I get sick like this this is the most common sickness that I get, is a sore throat, which then progresses to like a full-blown cold or something. And I tend to, when I sleep, I tend to breathe through my mouth. I don't breathe through my nose when I'm sleeping. And it's something that I've always done. My mum tells me it's been like that since I was a baby. So getting sore throats and waking up sick is quite common. Like, I'll go to bed completely fine and I'll wake up the next morning and I'll be ill because I'll have caught something and I'll wake up with a really dry throat. I mean, that happens to me quite often, but a lot of the time it clears up in the morning after I've had some water. But yesterday I could tell it was different. I could tell I was definitely sick, and so that's been fun. Not really, not at all. It's the worst possible timing. I've had so much. I have so much I still need to get done. I leave in a couple of days to go home. Really don't like flying when I'm sick. It's horrible. If any of you have ever had to go on a plane for a long haul flight when you're sick, you'll know what I mean. And I guess flight to London is about 6.5 hours. I don't know whether that's technically classified as long haul or not, but I kind of think of anything as 6 hours and over as being long haul. So we will see how it goes today. I'm not sure how I will do. I have a mug of tea, and this tea I'm drinking today is raspberry and pomegranate and raspberry by Twinings. And this is one that Lucy gave me as part of the teas that she gave me when I saw her in Alexandria. And so it tastes very nice. I can't really smell it because my nose is all bunged up, but so yeah, and I also just want to apologise for any coughing and sneezing. I'm going to try and edit out as many of them as I can, but if I miss a couple, I'm sorry. What else is there? I think that pretty much covers the opening bits. I do have a lot to cover today. I've cut out a couple of the things I was going to talk about because it's probably going to be too long otherwise, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to last for a super long episode. Right. So let's get started. First things first, I've actually nabbed my husband's iPad today because I thought I wanted to show you guys a little bit of the, not so much like geography, but just to give you an idea where I am. I know a lot of people may not know where Bahrain is, or they may have not heard of Bahrain before, and especially for those of you who are new, I thought it might be interesting to show you where I am, basically. So I'll start off with a zoomed out view, and this is the general region. So you've got, Iran, Saudi Arabia. I'm looking at this on the screen backwards. I'm not able to see all the words, but you get the idea. So we used to live in the UAE, United Arab Emirates, where Dubai and Abu Dhabi are, and you may or may not have heard of those places. But as you zoom in, you see there's Qatar, and then Bahrain is this little teeny tiny island. The blue dot is where I am now. And most of you will probably know Qatar is where they're having the World Cup. So you zoom in here and you'll see this is Bahrain. It's a tiny island, and its only connection to mainland is via this bridge, this causeway, to Saudi Arabia. So my husband works on this side, and we live here where the blue dot is. And so that drive takes him about, if there's no traffic at the border and he gets through the border quite easily, that takes about 45 minutes to an hour. So this is the northern part of Bahrain. So the main populated part of the country is this area, right at the top, this top section. Down here is mostly desert and oil fields and stuff. And down here there are some other developments starting up, some man-made islands and things that are starting down here, but that's not fully developed yet as far as I'm aware. So coming back up here again, this is the airport. This is the airport, and this is where we live. And so this is pretty much the furthest distance we ever have to drive. And the airport is less than half an hour away without traffic. So it gives you an idea how tiny this place is. Yeah, so, and then let's zoom in a bit more, I can show you here. And so this is Manama, this is technically the capital city. But the way that Bahrain is developed so far, this whole top area is populated now. It's not really defined. There aren't really defined cities or towns. The different towns are now just names of different areas. I'm trying to think of a good way to describe that, but hopefully you'll understand what I mean. So sometimes when people ask me, do you live in Manama? It's just easier to say yes, because it may as well be. Manama's only like 15 minutes away. Yeah, and so if I just take a look quickly. So this area here, around, I don't know how well this is focusing on that. Anyway, this area here is where the fabric market is, and the souk, where I go to buy my fabrics for my project bags that I make. But yeah, so I thought I would just show you that, and hopefully that's giving you some idea of where I am. And if you have any questions about Bahrain or the geography or anything about this area, then feel free to let me know. I'm more than happy to answer your questions, and if I don't know the answers, I'll look it up and let you know. Get rid of that tea bag. I really need tea. Right, I'm going to move on to finished objects, and I have a lot to show you today, not because I finished a lot, but because I have a lot of the ones from last week that I've now sort of completely finished up to show you what they now look like. So starting off with the beezy hat. I finally blocked this, and I made a multicolored, like a two-colored pom-pom for it. And most people said, yes, do a pom-pom, and I agree. I think a pom-pom totally makes this work. And I would put it on for you, but my hair's tied up, so it would look weird. The only thing is, one person did comment, and I was thinking about this as well. They said if you put a pom-pom in, then it won't be reversible anymore. That is true. Now that I've put a pom-pom on, I can't wear this hat inside out, which is one of the things with brioche. Sorry, I just haven't got rid of the ends yet. Is that you can wear it in, it's reversible. But frankly, I've made a slight mistake here, and it's quite obvious, and it's right by the brim. So the likelihood of me wearing it the other way around is quite slim anyway because of that. So I think I may as well stick a pom-pom on it and make it all cute. So that's that one. So this was the beezy hat that I knit out of Lion Brand, their LB collection. And yeah, by the way, I've updated my Ravelry projects page now, so that's been really out of date. And I'm really bad at updating my Ravelry projects page. I'm also really bad at actually uploading my projects before I finish them, if that makes sense. I like to finish my projects and then upload them. I don't put my whips on. But this is up there now, so if you're looking for links to it, you can check my projects page. For all the projects I'm talking about now, other than my whips, everything is on my Ravelry projects page. When I got this pattern, it was free, and I don't remember seeing anywhere that it said that it was free for a limited time, but I did have someone get in touch with me and say that the pattern is now a paid for pattern. So I'm sorry if you didn't get it while it was free, but I'm sure there are plenty of other brioche hat patterns out there that are free or paid for that you can check out if you didn't want to try this one. But I would definitely recommend trying brioche, it's so much fun. The second pattern I have to show you is, the second project I have to show you is the ponchette scarf cowl that I made for my mum. And I'm so happy with how this turned out. And I've added the buttons. And I would put it on for you, but this is really warm, and I don't have the AC on today. Today's actually the second day in a row that I haven't had to put the AC on. Yay, the weather's getting so much better now, it's lovely. Okay, I will put it on. This works as a scarf, like you can undo the buttons and just wear it like a scarf, or you can wear it as a cowl, and you can have it as like a double loop cowl and mess around with how it lays and get all that right. But you can also have it as a 3-looped, really snug up against your neck cowl for those days when it's really, really cold and you just want to keep the wind out. So it's actually an incredibly versatile piece. It's very long. I haven't measured it yet to see how long it is, but I'd say it's about 2 meters overall in circumference, 2 and a bit meters. Which is really good length, I think. And yeah, I'm really happy with how it turned out, and it's knit out of Drops Baby Alpaca Silk, which is the same yarn I used for the ponchette that I made her. And that's also now on my Ravelry projects page. Right, next up is these socks that I made and I showed you last time. Now, a little bit sad about these socks because whilst they look great on this side, do you see it? Do you see it? Do you see the problem? This sock is worse. I'll show you on this one. Do you see that? I'm so gutted. I had such a... Right before I washed these in the sink, can you guess which socks I washed before? Yep. My Barnville pond socks. And I don't know how I didn't see it, because I did empty the sink and refill it to block these, but there must have been some of the blue left. Some of the blue must have come off of this and hung around in the sink somewhere and then latched onto these socks. And there's a little bit on this other one, on the second sock as well. And I've tried everything to get it out, and I can't find anything specifically to remove them. So these were going to be Christmas presents for my aunt, but I can't bring myself to give these to her now because splodge. Yeah, so I was a little bit disappointed by that. That was a little bit upsetting, I guess. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with these now. I'll need to try them on and see if I don't think they'll fit me because I knit them for my aunt. She's got smaller feet than me, but they might fit my mum, so she'll probably get those. And I know my mum will probably say that she won't mind and that my aunt wouldn't mind or whatever, but this is the first time I'm giving her hand knit pair of socks. She's had 2 other things from me that are hand knit, but I didn't knit them with the intention of giving them to her. I knit them and they were either something that I wasn't going to wear or that I didn't like the fit of, but they fit her and she liked them, so I gave them to her. But this was the first time I'd knit something like intentionally for her, so I didn't really want to give her something that I wasn't completely happy with. These will come back again in a later section, and I'll tell you why later. So I dug around and I grabbed this skein of beautiful purple hand-painted straw fingering yarn in the Pansy Tonal colourway from Knit Picks. I'm going to wind this up, and if I can, I will make her another pair of socks out of this to give her as part of her present, which shouldn't be a problem because this is a thick fingering, so I'll be able to use fewer stitches and bigger needles, so it should go quicker. So that was that one. my next finished object, and these next two finished objects are new ones. So the first one is the 16 cables hat, and this is by Circe Belle's Boucle, or Circe Belle's B on Ravelry. She gifted me this pattern a while back now, and I've been wanting to knit this, and it was super quick, really fun knit, and I had this finished before our plane even took off from New York when we were coming back. And really fun chunky cabled hat, and I've been thinking about sticking this pom-pom on it because I think that'd be really fun, but I haven't, because I thought that if I don't get the socks done for my aunt, I might gift her this hat instead, because well, purple is one of her favourite colours, like me, so I think she might like that. And I know it'd definitely be big enough for her. I'm just not sure if she'd wear this hat. That's kind of why I haven't completely decided yet. So this hat may or may not have a pom-pom at some point. And so this was knit with Malabrigo worsted in the Uva colourway, UVA. And this is about right for the colour. It's a very dark purple, but it's got lighter bits in it. And the last finished object I have to show you is the Osterman Step socks that I've knit for my uncle. So these are his socks. These turned out great. They're a bit big for my blockers, so they may be a bit loose and baggy. There's a little bit of extra toe at the end here. It's a little bit loose around, but they're good, and I'm really happy with them. They turned out great, and they're nice and long in the leg, and yeah, I'm happy with these. These were knit on 2.25mm needles. So I'll take those off the covers now. I don't know why I did that. But yeah, and so this pair, I'm not counting the other pair of socks I showed you, but this pair makes 14 pairs of hand knit socks for Christmas presents that I've done now. So I have about 2 or 3 more pairs to do before I can officially be done, which is quite exciting. And I've also now knit 30 pairs of socks so far this year, which is insane. Those Osterman Step socks are pair number 30 that I've finished. Yeah, so those are all my finished objects for this week. There was only 2 new ones that I had to show you. And so now moving on to works in progress. So again, nothing added to the Cozy Memories blanket, but next up I'm actually knitting another ponchette, the actual poncho item, like the one I knit for my mum earlier. Again, if you haven't seen it, the one that I knit for my mum earlier this year, it's on my projects page on Ravelry, you can go check it out. But I'm knitting another one because one of my mum's colleagues really liked the one that she's got that I made her, and has asked if I would make her one, and she's paying me to do it, so it's fine. But I know I've not charged her as much, like I'm really not, I've charged her enough to cover the cost of the yarn and some extra for myself, but really it's not the kind of price I would, I've charged her like a much lower rate than I would normally think about charging for something like this, because frankly, I've not done a commission knit for anyone before. I was kind of curious to see how it would go, but also because I didn't want to charge too much anyway, because she's a friend of my mum's, and I wanted to do it as like a bit like a favour for my mum, but also it needed to be enough to make it worth my time to do it, if that makes sense. So I've charged a price that I'm comfortable with. So I guess that's what's important really if you're going to do a commission knit. And I don't do commission knits very often. I'm more than happy to consider doing them if someone wants to ask me to do something for them, but it's not really come up that often, so I sort of figured just do it for a bit of fun really. So I'm knitting it, I'm not doing it out of Drops Baby Alpaca Silk, which is what my mum's one is, because she wants it to be machine washable, and that yarn isn't machine washable. And she wanted slightly different colours. She wanted it in navy and red. So I went with Cascade Superwash 220 Superwash yarn in the navy colour and this sort of bright red colour. So the navy is colour number 854, which is this lovely dark blue, and the red is colour 893, which is lovely sort of deep red. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, this was called Ruby online, maybe. but it's 893. So those are the yarns that I'm using, and this is where I am. I am probably where I would think to be about halfway. This is one of my really early project bags that I made, prototype ones. I'm probably where I would call being about halfway with this one. And I was getting quite worried, I have to say, and this has actually been blocked on the needles at this point. I knit this much, which is, I think it's 13 points now at the moment, 13 points I've done. And my mum's one that I did is 23 points total. But this lady wanted hers to be a little bit longer, so I'm going to do 26 points, I think. And I was a little bit concerned, actually, when I was knitting it, because this, as I was knitting it, before I blocked it, it was about this big. And I was like, this is not going to be long enough. I'm not going to have enough yarn. This is going to, this is just eating up. And she wanted it wider than my mum's as well, so I added 10 or so extra stitches to the width of it. And I was really worried that I wasn't going to have enough yarn, that maybe I'd miscalculated because it's a different yarn and all of that. And I thought maybe I hadn't allowed for enough. And so I blocked it and it stretched out quite nicely. So I think I am going to be fine. And I'm going to carry on knitting on this. I'm hoping, what I'm going to do is I'm going to knit it up to the point where I think I'm going to be done. And I may not knit the last point that I want to knit. Wait till I get back to London and measure it up against the one that I've made for my mum. Because for some reason I didn't write down the measurements, the finished measurements of my mum's ponchette. Maybe I just didn't actually take the measurements or something before I gave it to her. And just measure it up to make sure that this is going to turn out bigger and wider. Wider I'm sure it will be because there are more stitches. But make sure it's definitely going to be longer than my mum's one. Before I bind off and seam it shut. So that's my progress so far on this one, and I still have I have plenty of yarn, I believe, to finish it, so that should be fun. And the original pattern is meant to be knit out of like lace cotton yarn, not lace, sorry, out of like a cotton yarn, as like a light summer cover up, but this is going to be like a winter autumn sort of outerwear layer, so which is why I went for the wool. My second work in progress is the Henley sweater that I showed you for my dad. Sorry. For the ponchette, I'm using 3.75mm needles, which is a US 5, and I don't know who the designer is for that one, but it'll be linked to the pattern. I'll link to the pattern in the show notes. So for my dad, like I said, I'm knitting him the Henley sweater. I'm trying to remember who designed that now, and I don't know if it's on the actual pattern or not. Knitting Pure and Simple, I think it's the name of the company. This pattern is called Henley neck down pullover for men, and I think this is the website name, Knitting Pure and Simple, and I found the pattern on this website. It's not, I think the pattern might be on Ravelry, I'm not entirely sure, I haven't actually looked. But I went to this website looking for a different pattern and stumbled across this one. So this is the sweater I'm knitting for my dad. See the top of it there. I want to show you the bottom half because there's pattern information on there and it's a paid for pattern. So that's what I'm knitting for my dad. And I'm knitting this out of, if you remember, Cascade 220 Superwash. I am knitting with a lot of Cascade 220 at the moment. And this is in the chocolate colourway, and it's number 819. Okay, this is lovely, rich, chocolatey brown. And my dad picked out the colour. I sat down with him at my computer, and he originally said he wanted brown, so I pulled out a bunch of brown yarns that would work, and he picked that one. So, and this is also in one of my really early project bags that I made, this patchwork one that I did really early on. And yeah, this is like the biggest project bag I probably own. I haven't done one that big in quite a while that I've kept. And this is what it currently looks like. And again, I was only going to knit this, I only knit this up to the sleeve separation. And then I knit the body until I ran out of the yarn on that particular ball. So I didn't knit very far because I want my dad to try it on. in case it's not the right size, then I can rip it back and adjust the sizing. So I blocked it again because it's super wash, it will stretch. So I thought I pinned it to the blocking mat. I didn't stretch it out, I just pinned it down so I can actually hold this up for you guys. This is how far I am. So I think you see I separated for the sleeves, and this I got like an inch or two in the body, which also will make it easier when he tries it on to see how this fits, if there's actually some substance there. So you can see the button placket here, where I joined at the bottom, and I actually went in and I picked up the stitches and knit the neckband as well, because I want to make sure that sits nicely and that he likes it. And then hopefully whilst I'm in the UK, I'll go with my mum to try and find some nice buttons to go with this. And I also, if you haven't already noticed, I've put in a lifeline, and this lifeline's gone in about 1 row before I split for the sleeves. So if I need to go back in and add more increases, it's unlikely that I'll need to take out stitches. If anything, I may have to add a couple of increases. So if I have to rip back, I only have to rip back that far, and it'll be easy to pick up the stitches from there. So that's where I am. And again, I left this pinned to the board to show you because it was going to be much easier than fussing around with all the cables, because I've put this on a bunch of cable needles to be able to stretch it out. So that's where I am with that one. It's been knit on 4.5mm needles, which is US 7, and I knit the collar with 3.5mm needles, which is US 4, I believe. Yeah, so that's where I am on that one, and that's basically on hold now until I go back to the UK and get my dad to try it. But I think what I will do is I will probably take, if not all, some of the yarn with me so I can carry on knitting on the body, and then maybe just have the sleeves left to do when I get back. But there again, I may take all of it with me and see if I can finish it while I'm in London and leave it with him so I don't have to bring it back with me. It all depends how my packing goes later this week, whether or not I have space for it, but we shall see. And the next work in progress I have to show you is quite a sad story, really, because I haven't touched this since I got back from the US. It is the pair of socks I was knitting for my cousin. Again, I'm not particularly worried about having time to finish these because I know I will finish them. But last time I showed them to you, I think I'd done like 3 rows on one cuff. So before we left the US, I finished the cuffs. And that's about all I did. I haven't touched it again since then. So it's got 20 rows of 2x2 ribbing. And that's basically where I am. I need to finish these. And I might keep these to knit on the plane. I don't know yet. I haven't completely decided. My holiday knitting plans are so up in the air right now. I haven't completely settled on anything. But these are being knit out of Patterns Croy Socks FX, and this is the chambray colours colorway. And these are being knit on 2.5mm needles with 60 stitches. Then the last project I have to show you. I just started this last night because I finished my design project, my news design project, but I'm not ready to show that to you yet because it's still blocking, it's on the mats and I can't grab it to show it to you. But yes, so I cast on something new because I wasn't in the mood to fiddle around with getting the socks off DPNs onto something else, and I couldn't knit on the sweater, and I wasn't in the mood to wrangle with the ponchette because it's quite big now, and it was quite late last night, so I just wanted something a little bit more mindless. So I started something new, and I figured this is also going to be some holiday knitting. This is one I wanted to knit for a while, and it's nice and easy. And this is where I am so far. So if you haven't been able to tell, it's going to be a shawl. It's an asymmetrical garter shawl. It is called, I can get the pattern out of the bag here. It's called Yuko. Sort of see the pattern there. there's a better picture to show you. Sorry, when I printed this, my printer was being a bit funny, so it's not the best. But it's called Yuko. And it's knit using 3 colours of I guess a light fingering. She used, the designer used Holst yarn, which is 349 meters and 50 grams. And so the designer is Amanita on Ravelry. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. I'll have it linked in the show notes. And I'm knitting it on 3.5mm needles. You can tell I'm really not with it today. And these are on my high sharps. And the yarn I am using is this lovely alpaca yarn that my mum got me. It's their alpaca 1, which is their lace weight. It's 100% alpaca, 50 grams is 400 meters. So there should be more than enough yarn in these balls for that. And I have 3 colors. So this is going to be color A, this will be B, and this one will be C. So this will be the color order it'll be in. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to knitting on that. It's going to be some nice, easy, mindless knitting for the trip. And this is going to be nice and portable for when I'm around going out and about in London and meeting up with friends. And like I said, it's relatively mindless enough that I can just knit on it while I'm chatting with people and stuff. So this is going to be a good travel project, I think. And that is it for my works in progress. I just have those 4 things on my needles at the moment, not counting the sock yarn blanket because, let's face it, that's not had any work done to it. Yeah, sorry, I'm just really not feeling too great right now. Right, so next thing I wanted to talk about is knit along news. So the VidaCal is still going on, and that is the knit along to knit any of the designs from the Vida collection that I put out recently, which is a choice of the shawl, the Vida shawl, Vida hat, or Vida socks. And there are some beautiful entries so far in the knit along, some beautiful shawls being knit and socks and hats and all sorts. So if you are interested, please feel free to hop on over to the thread, check out the rules for entry. They're very simple. And yeah, feel free to enter and let us, yeah, and I'm available to answer any questions you may have, and there are others in the group who are taking part who are more than happy to help out as well. And I've had a few questions about whether or not, or which of the patterns is best suited for a beginner. And frankly, I think any of them are suitable for beginners because they're all very simply written. But in terms of simplicity and time, the hat is probably the quickest and simplest one to knit because it's not as large as the shawl, and you only have to knit 1, so it's not like a pair of socks where you have to knit 2. So in that respect, I'd say the hat would be a good place to start if you are unsure which pattern to start with. Maybe you're a little bit pressed for time and you're just not sure if you're gonna like it or not. So I think the hat is a good one to start with. It's for the deadline, like I said before, the deadline at the moment is the end of the year, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to extend that to the end of January. Give more people a chance to enter. As for prizes, we have 2 pattern prizes donated by viewers. One is from Emily of Fibertown, and she's donated her new shawl pattern, Estabelle, which is really beautiful if you haven't checked it out already. It's a very interesting construction. It starts out, and I haven't printed off the pattern yet, I'm really sorry, so I can't show it to you. But I will link it in the show notes and you can go check it out. And it's this beautiful, I think you start knitting in the round, like a flat circle, and then it goes off and you create these 2 wings, and then you knit on, then there's a border that you knit across all the stitches, which is just really beautiful, really beautifully designed, really interesting construction. I haven't really seen anything else quite like it, and I'm really intrigued. And Emily's gifted me a copy of the pattern as well, so I'm looking forward to trying that out at some point. And then we also have a pattern donated by Kathy, who's a viewer of the podcast, and she's created a scarf pattern for breast cancer awareness, which she's offered to donate as a prize as well. So thank you, Kathy. And I also have put together this little bundle, Heart and Soul, Serdar Heart and Soul sock yarn, and this little bunch of stitch markers from Cupcake Crochet. And this is really fun sock yarn to knit with. It does thick stripes. It's a 4-colour stripe, And I've knit a pair of socks out of this exact colourway earlier this year as a gift for a friend of mine. So if you want to see how this knits up, you can go check out my Ravelry projects page to see how these knits up into socks. But this will be another one of the prizes. And the fourth prize is going to be a project bag from one of the project bags that I've made. And I haven't quite picked out which one it will be yet, but it will be lovely. You can be sure of that. And yeah, so that's the prize. Those are the prizes for the knit along. And speaking of knit alongs, I have been chatting with Marsha from the Very Little Twitch and Stitch podcast. And it was a while back now, I guess, just before I went to the US. She commented on one of my Instagram pictures, when I'd knit those 3 socks in less than a week, 3 pairs of socks in less than a week. She commented basically saying, oh, we should have a competition to see who can knit the most socks in a month. And I said, okay, let's do that. And it sort of snowballed from there. And so we've decided that January is going to be sockathon. It's going to be a sock marathon to see who can knit the most pair of socks in a month. And whilst that's a little friendly competition between the two of us, because she's a pretty quick knitter as well, we were going to do it this year, but frankly, I'm too busy and she's travelling at the moment as well. And it would have been just too stressful to do it now. So we've decided that January is going to be the month, and I thought it'd be really fun if we did a cow to go along with it. Now, obviously, you guys don't have to compete, as it were, to see if you can how many socks you can knit in a month. If you want to, you can, and that'd be fun. But that's not a requirement to take part. It's going to be just a regular sock cow. Knit a pair of socks in the month of January, and you can enter however many pairs you finish. Those are how many entries you can enter for. So every pair of socks you finish in the month of January can be entered for a prize. Prizes are yet to be determined, but the rules that we've sort of decided on is basically it has to be an adult pair of socks. It has to be started and finished in the month of January. It has to be you can't use anything thicker than a heavy fingering weight yarn, and you can't knit shorty socks. Rose City rollers won't count. They have to be proper sock length. They don't have to be super long legs, they don't have to be as long as these necessarily, but they can't be short ankle length sock, shorty socks, trainer socks. They need to have a decent cuff on them to be eligible, because those are the sort of rules that we're setting for ourselves. So basically nothing thicker than Patterns Croy, which is a very heavy fingering sock yarn, but it is technically sock yarn. And it doesn't matter how you knit your socks, toe up, toe down, one at a time, two at a time, concurrently, however you want to knit your socks is fine. But it's going to be, like I said, relatively simple. Adult socks, no shorty socks, started and finished within the month of January. And as many socks as you finish in that month is as many entries as you can get. So feel free to come join. That will be so much fun. It's going to be our January sockathon between the two podcasts. And it's going to be fun to see whether me or Marsha will knit the most pair of socks in January. I'm kind of worried that I might be burnt out on socks by the end of the year, and that I may just end up falling out of love with knitting socks in January, but we will see how that goes. I've already picked out the yarn. If you can see in this little corner here, there we go, there. I have 10 different skeins of sock yarn picked out for this challenge already. I rearranged my yarn cabinet at the back there, but I'll talk more about that later. So yeah, we will see how that turns out. I'm really looking forward to it now, and it should be good fun. And like I said, we haven't fully decided on prizes yet, but there'll be some sock yarn as a prize, and there will be a project bag. And like I said, like I always say, if you are a yarn dyer, project bag maker, seller of any other related knitting related paraphernalia, a designer, pattern designer or whatever, and you want to donate a prize, feel free to get in touch with me and we will work something out. Yeah, and now I want to move on to questions and answers. I'll just move some stuff out of the way. And I have quite a few questions to catch up with, so I'm going to answer a few this week and hopefully catch up with the rest next week. So, sorry if I'm looking off to the side. I haven't printed off my show notes, so they're on my computer, which is off to the side here. So Roxana360 asks, I was wondering how you get notice of all the cows that you mention. I see the cows in my groups, but you always mention cows that I'm not aware of. How do you find out? Well, exactly the same way as you, I find out based on the groups that I joined. And to be honest, actually, I don't find out through the groups. I tend to find out from the podcasts I listen to. So all the cows that I've ever mentioned are because of other podcasters. Other podcasts have mentioned them. So that's how I find out about them. I think maybe going forward, starting in the new year, maybe I'll have a thread on the Ravelry group, and we can update it with all the cows that are going on at the moment, so people can have one place to find where all the different cows are. And then if you're a podcaster and you've got a cow going on, you could enter information about your cow or a link to the thread in your own group into that thread, so there's like a central place for people to find, or people in the Knitting Expat Podcast group to find out what knit-alongs are going on at the time. What do you guys think about that? Is that a good idea? Do you think that would be helpful if we have a thread in our group to talk about, or to sort of link to other knit-alongs that are going on so you can see what's happening? If that would be something that's helpful for you guys, let me know. I'm more than happy to try and facilitate that. The next question I have is from Everything Fibre. She asks, I believe you started always knitting your socks toe up, but now you have switched to always knitting them cuff down. What made you switch? Yes, that is true. I did start knitting my socks toe up because I thought I was going to be able to... I was worried about having enough yarn to finish a pair of socks for my feet, because I have quite large feet and I have quite wide feet. So I was quite worried, because I'd always heard that knitting socks for men, sometimes 100 grams isn't enough, and you know, my feet are the same size as my dad and my brothers, so I always assume I've got like large man feet. But I'm also quite tall, so for my height, my foot size isn't like that drastically, isn't too big. But yeah, so I started doing my socks toe up for that reason. But after knitting a few pairs of socks, I realised my socks were turning out huge. Like, they were turning out too long. After blocking and wearing for a while, like, the toes were just too long. So I tried knitting a pair of socks cuff down. And the very first pair of socks I knit cuff down were a perfect fit. Like, they fit really well. I mean, they weren't perfect, but they fit so much better than any of my toe-up socks. I was like, okay, that's it. I'm doing cuff down. And I realised that, you know what, I will always have enough yarn in 100 grams. Even if 100 grams is only 350 meters, I will still have enough yarn to knit a full pair of socks for myself. Even if, you know, and I figured out a way for myself that I know how many rounds to knit for my leg, for my foot, so I can, you know, before I start the heel, I know roughly how many grams of yarn I need, because I can see how much I've used in the leg to know how much I'll need for the foot. And I figured out my own method, and cuff down now just works for me because it just makes more sense. It makes more sense for me because I can get the fit right. I won't end up knitting the foot too long, sorry. And I also have an issue with toe up because of the toes, the increases. I really like the rounded toe look, and to do a rounded toe up, you have to do increases on every round for several rows. And I find that is really, to get a neat look, rather than doing a KFB all the time, would be quite is quite difficult on my wrists, and it gets quite painful sometimes. And I just find it easier to do decreases at a tight gauge than increases. So therefore cuff down makes more sense for me. And that's why I switched. And is it Miriam has asked, I'd love to start dyeing yarn and sell it on Etsy, but I did a few calculations, and the international postage to get the undyed yarn to me in the first place really adds to the overhead. Just to put it out there, Miriam she lives in Israel, I believe. She says, when you set up your Etsy shop, do you find that postage to Bahrain eats into your pricing margin? No, because I don't tend to get supplies mailed to me. The only supplies I get mailed to me are my business cards and the charms that I use for for the progress keepers that I make to send out with my project bags. Other than that, I buy everything in person, either when I'm on a trip or locally. I don't order supplies internationally because postage would kill me. I don't order fabric online to be mailed to me because fabric is heavy, and no, I just wouldn't do that. I also prefer to buy my fabric in person because then I get to see the quality of it and I'm sure of what I'm buying. So no, I don't find postage eats into my margin because I don't order supplies for my business online. But I can imagine with yarn dyeing, you would have to get the yarn mailed to you. So I'm afraid I can't really help you there. That's not something I've ever looked into. So yeah, I'm sorry if that doesn't help you very much, but that's just how it's worked out for me. The last question I'm going to answer is by the Lady Katie 19X on Ravelry. She asks, have you ever had any interest in trying crochet? Yes, I did. I don't mind crochet. I do quite like it sometimes. I think it can look really beautiful. And I do know how to crochet. I know the basics. And I did do a giant sort of really super bulky granny square blanket at one point and to try it out. And it was fine. It worked out. And I have it in the cupboard still. But it really hurts my wrists. Crochet really hurts my wrists. It's a lot of wrist movement. And I don't know if I've ever mentioned this before, but I've broken both my wrists before at separate times, but 3 times in total, twice my left, once my right hand, when I was younger. So I do get, and I get enough sort of wrist-related pains from knitting sometimes. But crochet really aggravates it, and I've heard other people mention this as well, that crochet can really aggravate their wrist pain. So I haven't really done much crochet for that reason. And I also find it hard to tension the yarn in my left hand for crochet. So I have learned how to crochet and I know how to crochet, I just don't really enjoy it very much because of the pain. So for that reason I don't crochet. There were a few other things I wanted to talk to you guys about today. And I was going to put this off, but I didn't want to put it off any longer because I'd already mentioned last week that I was going to talk about it. And that was, I was going to talk about how some of my knitwear has been holding up. Today I'm going to talk about my 2 cardigans that I've made. These are the 2 things that I've knit that I've probably worn the most. So this is my Stripes Gone Crazy cardigan by Atelier Alpha on Ravelry. And this is my Marco Polo by Ella Torrente. Now, the Stripes Gone Crazy was knit out of a mix of, it's a merino silk yarn, so it's a really soft, really drapey yarn. But I did knit it, I believe, for me anyway, a size too large. So whilst it fits fine, I constantly feel like and because it's quite an open scoop neck, I constantly feel like it doesn't sit right on my shoulders. And it's a bit big under here, under the arms. It feels a little bit too like loose here. But it's still fine and I will wear this until it dies. And I love how it worked up with the stripes and I definitely want to knit another one of these. And I'll talk more about that later as well. But as you can probably see, I don't actually know how well you can see it on camera, and it's not so bad now, but this thing pills like nothing else I've ever seen before in my life. This yarn, it is so impeccably pilly, but it's so beautifully soft, it's actually worth it. And this is yarn that my friend in Dubai, who dyes yarn, dyed. And it's the most pilly along the bottom where it rubs against my coat when I've worn it. And you can definitely see the pills there. But having said that, I finished this back in April, I think. And it pilled a lot the first few times I wore it. But the level of pilling has definitely dropped. And it doesn't pill as much as it used to. And I think eventually it may even stop pilling. This is the other side. And it's not so bad on this side, the other side's worse. I don't know, it's just the way... Oh, the other side is... My left side pills more because that's where my bag hangs. When I carry my handbag, I always carry it, the strap goes over my right shoulder, but the bag hangs on my left. So that side rubs against my cardigans more. So that side always pills worse. But it's held up fine, and the level of pilling isn't so bad that I wouldn't want to wear it. Let's put it that way. But I think maybe I'm also quite tolerant of these things. And my second cardigan I want to talk about is this one, which is my Marco Polo, which already mentioned. And I really enjoyed knitting this, and this was knit out of 100% Icelandic merino yarn, the camp yarn, that I got from Iceland when I was there last year. And this one is a non-superwash yarn. The other one isn't superwash either, but like I said, because of the silk, it has a lot more drape to it. This is a much more rustic feeling yarn. It is not as soft as merino is elsewhere. It's a much more rustic merino, but this has also pilled like crazy. And I only finished this cardigan last month in October, early October, and I wore this a lot in the US when we went recently, but you can see how much it's pilling already. Again, the left side is the worst because that's where my bag hangs. I'll show you the right side. Is also pilling, but not as bad as the left. And there's pilling all over on this one, even on the front. And this is probably because this is quite recently finished, and so it's been rubbing, and so it hasn't gone through its initial pill and be done pilling sort of phase. But like I said, again, this is fine. It really doesn't look that bad. I need to get a good deep pillar. I don't have a deep fuzzy thingy. So if you have a good recommendation for one that you like, please let me know, because I'm really interested to get one and would like a good recommendation from someone, because I've sort of seen some stuff online that I was looking at, and seen a couple in person, but I was never 100% sure whether it was a good one or not. So if you've got one that you like, please let me know, because I'd be really interested to hear about that. Shop news. The shop is open. There's only one bag left in there at the moment. There's one Christmas bag left in there. It's priced at the moment, it's discounted. You don't need a code or anything, the price is already discounted. It's one of my large Christmas bags. I think it's Santa and Snowman or something. So that's in there. The shop will be open until the end of the week, basically. I will close the shop before I go away, because I'm going to be away for about 3.5 weeks. Then it will probably stay closed until the new year, to be honest, because I'm not planning on doing an update before the new year. There's not much point doing an update when I get back, because I get back on like the 14th of December. There really isn't a point doing an update just before Christmas, because it's doesn't make sense. And I didn't want to get anything lost in the Christmas mailing nightmare that is every year. And so yeah, so I think waiting until the new year for an update would probably be the best way to go about it. But I have had a few people get in touch with me about custom bags from the new fabrics that I've gotten and stuff, which is great. And like I've always said, I'm happy to take custom orders as long as you understand that I can't turn it around that quickly. Especially at the moment, I'm really busy. I'm not going to be around for ages, and then I have a bunch of bags already that are made up that need to be finished off. So like I've mentioned before, I will always try to do custom orders as quickly as possible, but if I've already got bags in process, those will be finished first, and then the next time I start cutting bags, your custom orders will go in with that next batch. So as long as you're happy to wait, because like I said, I've explained all this before, as long as you're happy to wait, then I'm more than happy to accommodate that. But also for that reason, I don't ask for anyone to pay for their bags up front until they're ready to be mailed out, because I don't think it's fair to ask for you to pay for something that I can't guarantee a date when it's ready to be shipped. So I will, yeah, so I think that's the fairest way that I can think of to do it. I don't like to ask anyone to pay me to do something in advance if I can't tell them exactly when it will be ready to be shipped. I just think that's fair, I guess. So, but I'm also always happy to reserve something for you. So if you see stuff that I see, a fabric, or you see something that I've posted online as bags that are getting ready to go into the shop or whatever, and you see something that you really want to have, but you're not sure you're going to be able to make an update, let me know. I'm almost always happy to put something on hold for someone. So it wouldn't hurt to ask. And with that, I think I'm going to move on to acquisitions. I'm going to put this out there now. I'm going to tell you, I did get a shipment of my last shipment of Hedgehog Fibers club yarn, but I will wait and I will show that right at the end of the episode after I've said all my goodbyes and everything. That way anyone who doesn't want to see it can not see it, and anyone who does want to see it can just stay tuned to the end. Right, so I'm just going to go in the order of which things are in front of me. They're not going to be in any particular order. So first things first is I ordered a bag from Lara at Fawn and the Fox, and she does the Fawn Knits podcast, and I got one of her mustache little micro bags, which I think is so adorable, and it's got this fun green lining and green zipper, and yeah, I really like the bag. It's a small little micro wedge bag. If I can get that to stand up. There we go. This is great for a pair of socks. So I think that is what's going to go live in these, a pair of socks. And mustaches, because it's Movember. And this is her card, Fawn and the Fox. And that's the back with her information. So it's the fawnandthefox.etsy.com. And she has a podcast. If you haven't checked it out, make sure you do, because it is awesome. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, so that's a really fun project bag. Then next up, you guys already know that I met up with a bunch of ladies in New York last weekend. I met up with Carleen from Made with Carleenergy, Jenny from the Tiny Paper Foxes, Tanya from Knitting Spring, Kristen from Vine and Yargasm podcast, and also a couple of viewers, Jacqueline and Denise. So it was so lovely to meet you ladies, and I'll talk more about that in a little bit. But Carleen gave me some beautiful, beautiful minis, some that are way bigger than others. This is not a mini, this is a jumbo mini. But there's some beautiful colours in there, which I'm really excited to get into my blanket soon. And she also gave me a bunch of teas with one of her cards, her podcast cards. There's orange and cinnamon, there's green ginger, there's some calming, there's a whole bunch in here. Hot cinnamon spice, this one looks really good. I'm really looking forward to trying that one. Moroccan mint just went flying. So yes, that's lovely. Oh, and the card is beautiful. If I can dig it out. How cute is that owl? How adorable. And she wrote me a lovely note inside, which I'm not going to read out, but yeah, so thank you so much, Carleen. Thank you for those minis. That was so sweet of you. And I can't wait to get started on those teas. Anyway, and then Jenny, I took a bag of minis to do some mini swaps with people. So all I was expecting was some minis. But Jenny totally went above and beyond that. And she got me this really adorable pouch, which says, "Get me cake now." Yeah, I can agree with that sentiment. Get me cake now. I could definitely do with some cake. But Jenny also gave me a lovely variety of teas to try out. It's also orange and cinnamon in that one. Seems to be a popular one for this time of year. Some lovely chamomile, wild raspberry and hibiscus, and all sorts in there. So I'm looking forward to trying those. She also gave me this really adorable, how stinking cute is this? It's a little keyring sweater. Let me just get this out of the packet. It's just so adorable. It's by Lantern Moon. That's the company. But how cute is that? It's crocheted. And it's adorable. That is just the cutest thing. Thank you so much, Jenny. That's so adorable. And then on top of all that, she gave me a ridiculous number of minis. All of them beautifully labelled with podcast card and the tags on the back. Beautifully labelled with, there's some Vine in here. This is the Myth on Blitzed, which I believe she's just knit a shawl out of. There's Manastil Uruguay Fino, which is beautiful yarn. Some Blue Moon Fibre Arts. What's this one? This is Knitwitch sock, which is beautiful. Lorna's Laces. Most of these are yarns I haven't knit with before. Some Knit Picks Felici. Ooh. Tags tangled. Some Quince & Co. Turn, which is beautiful. I love this colour. There's some Lang Jawal Magic. Some more Knit Witch sock. And Gail's Art sock. So I'm showing the wrong thing. There we go. Beautiful, beautiful array of minis to go to the blanket. Oh, and she also gave me a lovely card. I'm failing this morning. Okay, ripping envelopes is the way we go. How pretty is that? It's really lovely. And yeah. I just love this pouch. I think it's really adorable. Right, so those were the unexpected goodies that I got. I also meant to show you this to you guys last week because I realised I forgot, so I'll show them to you today. I got a pair of Converses. Sorry for that rustling. These were actually a birthday present from Perry to me. He was planning on getting them to get here in time for my birthday. And turns out he couldn't order them because, well, he could, but it was just going to be ridiculous because he had ordered them from the US and they were going to charge $50 to deliver them internationally. It didn't matter whether I got them sent to the UK or here. They were going to charge $50 either way. And sending them to the UK would have been ridiculous because then we would have had to pay customs on top of that. But postage to the US was free, which was ridiculous. So since we were going, I asked Tanya if she wouldn't mind me having them mailed to her, and because I was meeting up with her anyway, I could get them from her. She said that was fine, so that was very sweet of her to do that. So I got myself a pair of clear Converses, and if you follow me on Instagram, you'll have already seen me wearing them. And I will tell you that these are probably about half a size to a size too big for me, but I erred on the side of caution when I ordered them, and I wasn't sure on the sizing because I've ordered from Converse before online. I actually ordered my wedding shoes from Converse, and yes, my husband and I both wore Converses as our wedding shoes, but the size I ordered I think was a little bit like half a size too small for me. So whilst I could wear them, they do pinch after a while. So I figured if I have shoes that are slightly too big, they're still wearable rather than being too small. So I picked up those, and I've worn them a couple of times now, and I had a few people say, well, don't your feet get sweaty in them because, you know, they are plastic, and, you know, your socks will felt quicker. Well, to that I will say, I've worn them for a couple of days, like I've said, and do your feet get sweaty in them? A little bit, but there are holes where the laces are, so it's not the worst thing. And frankly, I compared wearing those for a day to when I wore my hand knit socks in a pair of trainers for a day. Just as sweaty, just the same. I don't feel like the Converses were any more sweaty than when I wore my hand knit socks in my trainers. So frankly, I don't see a difference. I don't feel like my socks are any more felted than when I wear them in regular shoes. I figure socks are going to get a bit felted anyway when you wear them, and I don't wear my socks that hard. I rarely get a chance to wear them in shoes when I live here, so for me they work out fine, and they're a fun way to show off my hand knit socks when I travel or when it gets cold enough over here, because I'm not going to get as much of an opportunity to wear them, and I want people to see them. So what is more fun than a pair of clear Converses? And this is the other one. I'm not sure how well you can see it. But can you see that? Can you see the blue? You can see where this is going. I wore these for a day in these, and some of the blue transferred onto the sole, which doesn't bother me because it's the inside of my shoe and no one's really going to see that when I'm wearing them. But that's to say that after a couple of washes, these socks still bleed, which isn't the end of the world. I really don't mind. I just need to be a bit more careful when I'm washing my socks, that the sink is clean afterwards before I wash the next pair. Right, so that was the Converses. Sorry, I forget, this is not the end of it. That was the Converses. Then on to things that I've actually bought. So yeah, the Converses were a belated birthday present. And this is in this beautiful bag that Himiko made me for our swap, because I just think it was so perfect and it fit everything just right. I basically went to Fiberspace when I was at Fiberspace. I hadn't shown these to you guys last week. I went to Fiberspace and I basically bought a rainbow. I bought a rainbow of yarn, yes. Actually, the first things I picked up were some needles. I picked up 2 pairs of the High Sharps sock needles in 2.25 millimeters, and I picked up 1 pair of the Chai Goose in the 2.5 millimeter. These are both needles that I haven't tried yet for socks, so I really wanted to try these out. And I've heard such good things about both of them that I wanted to see what they were like. So I'm looking forward to trying those out. And when I went to Fiberspace, I had four dyers in mind that I wanted to get yarn from and try out, or just get yarn from. They were Hedgehog Fibers, Hazel Knits, Miss Babs, and Neighbourhood Fibre Company. And wouldn't you guess it, those are the 4 that I bought from. So I'll start with Hedgehog Fibers. I bought these 2 colours from Hedgehog Fibers. The yellow is Pollen, and the orange one is Rusty Nail. And I love these 2 colours, they're so beautiful. And the Rusty Nail is actually a really good match with Spook from last month's club colours, which I have somewhere up there. Yeah, really like these 2 colours, really bright and colourful. From Miss Babs, I actually only bought one thing. I was intending to look for some Yowza, but I don't actually think they had any in stock at the time. But anyway, I picked up a skein of their Yummy 2-ply, which is their Babette base. And this is the Irises colourway. It's beautiful, got bits and everything at the moment. Beautiful shades of purples. And it's not super variegated like I normally go for, and you'll notice that from Fiberspace anyway, I didn't buy anything super variegated, which is very strange for me. So this is their Irises colourway. It's 100% superwash merino, 400 yards in 4 ounces. And these 2 I forgot to mention. It's 350 meters and 100 grams. It's 90% merino, 10% nylon. Then from Neighbourhood Fibre Company, I picked up these 2. Oh no, that's not the Neighbourhood Fibre Company. This one is. I picked up these 2 beautiful skeins. These 2 beautiful skeins. And the green one is, both are their Studio Sock base, which is 100% superwash merino, 400 meters to 4 ounces. The green one is called Logan Circle. And Neighbourhood Fibre Company is a local dyer to the Washington, Alexandria area. And so all their colourways are named after places in DC and the surrounding area. So this is called Logan Circle. It's really beautiful, beautiful greens. And this one, this red one, is called Old Town, which is named after Old Town, Alexandria. So of course I had to get a skein of this. I couldn't go to Old Town and not buy a skein of Old Town yarn. And it's beautiful variegated reds. They do have another one called, another red called King Street, which is really beautiful, but it's a much more solid red colour, and I really like this tonal. And it's coming up a little bit more orange on screen than it is in real life, but that's a bit better there. It's a really lovely tonal red that I really like. And then from Hazel Knits, sorry, I'm just trying to get these all the right way, I bought these 3 colours. So this one is their Coveralls colourway, which is like a really dark denim colour, really nice denim blue. I got this green, which is called Shady Verdant, which is beautiful bright green. And this purple, which is called Spooky Hue, which is really lovely. I love this purple. And I showed Perry these yarns. I showed him these 3, the 3 from Hedgehog Fibers. Basically gave him these 5 options and told him pick one that you'd like me to make you a pair of socks out of. And he picked the purple, but I may have to take it off him. I may have to take it off him and give him a different one, because what I'm really thinking of doing is taking where is it? These 6 skeins. Matching it with a grey and making another one of these. Stripes Gone Crazy cardigan because I think it'd be awesome in rainbow colours, and I think I might be going slightly crazy. But let me know what you guys think. I probably won't do that in the end, but I do think a stripy version, rainbow version of that cardigan would be so much fun. And it'd be nice to use all the yarns that I got from Fiberspace for that, because then it's kind of like a memory cardigan as well. It's got all the yarns I got from one place at one time in it. So I'm thinking about that. It's being seriously considered, I have to admit, but I have plenty of sweater quantities at the moment to knit with, so we will see what happens with that. And the last bunch of stuff I have to show you are the things that I got when I was in New York. So we went to New York, so there will be rustling because there's a plastic bag. But when I met up with the ladies in New York, we went to the Plucky Knitted Trunk Show. And from Plucky, again, I'll explain more about the trunk show and everything in a bit, the weekly roundup. But I bought, in the end, these 4 skeins of Plucky. And it's the Gilded Age colourway, so it's this lovely golden yellow colour. And it's their Primo fingering. It's 385 yards, 75% superwash merino, 20% cashmere and 5% nylon. And oh my god, this is so soft. I haven't even let Perry touch this yet. It is so beautifully soft. I love this yarn. It's really plump, very, very round, plump plies. If I can get the strand to separate. Here we go. Don't know how well you can see that, but it's very, very round. So this would be beautiful for some sort of cabled pattern, but this is going to become a cardigan of some kind, of some description. Not sure what yet. But it will be, and it'll be lovely. So that's what I got from Gauge Intention. And then we went to Argyle Yarn Company, where I picked up a skein of Malabrigo Rios, which I've never knit with before, but I've wanted to try for ages. And this is their glitter colourway. It doesn't have sparkle in it, it's just called glitter. And it's this beautiful shades of autumnal browns and golden yellows. And I'm thinking of knitting a hat for this for my cousin that I stayed with in Boston. It's like a thank you. I think he'd like that. And it's lovely browns, and it's, you know, it's a nice sort of manly colour that he'll wear. I also picked up a unicorn tail. This is the mandala colourway, which is really beautiful. Love the different shades in that. I also picked up a set of 4.5mm Just Pride Dreams interchangeables, and I have the Symphony 4.5mm, but the thread on one of the needles has been damaged, so it doesn't actually screw on correctly, so I needed to get a replacement pair, and they didn't have the Symphony, so I just got the Dreams. I don't really mind as long as they work, and these all work on the different ones with Knitter's Pride or Knit Pro. I also picked up a pom-pom maker. So this is the large and the medium sort of size pom-pom makers, and I used this for my Beezy hat. I can get that out. So I used this large one to make this pom-pom, and I actually think that after having made it, I realised I could have stuffed it a bit more, so it's not as stuffed as it could have been. But it was my first time using it, and I think it did pretty well. And I've always done the wrap around your own hand method of making a pom-pom, and that also works perfectly fine. But I also find that method takes a lot of trimming afterwards to get it nice and round and plump. But with this, it's just quicker, and it wasn't that expensive, so I thought I'd give it a go. And I really like how it worked, so come sold. And I saw Katrina on the Cat's Kettle podcast, that she bought a giant one that makes these super huge pom-poms, and I really want one of those now. I've got to track one of those down online and see if I can get one. But yeah. And then the last thing I got, this was kind of, I wasn't actually going to New York with the intention of buying these yarns, but I found out after I was there that I could get them. Anyway, went to Knitty City with Tonya at the end of the day to get some Malabrigo Machita, which is their new single ply fingering weight yarn, which I've been dying to try out, and I haven't been able to find it anywhere online. So I picked up 2 colourways. I picked up the colourway 121, which is Mart, or Marte, I don't know how you pronounce it, but it's beautiful reds and purples and some blues in there as well. It's just really lovely colourway. Love that one. And I also picked up, I have no idea how to pronounce this. It's in Spanish, and my Spanish is not great. It's Cielo y Tierra. Cielo y Tierra. And there's this beautiful blues with a stripe of like an orangey brown running through it. Lovely. So I got these 2 skeins from that. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is all that I got in the US, which is quite a lot, really, more than I expected, but it's all lovely stuff. And yeah, so now I'm going to move on to my week in review, and there's quite a lot to talk about, so I'm going to try and get through this quickly. And my notes are on my laptop again, so if I look off to the side, I apologise. I just want to say really quickly, I didn't actually take any footage when I was in New York. I was just too busy and too distracted by everything else going on around me. I just forgot. So sorry about that. But on Saturday morning, so after I finished the last podcast, I had enough time to edit and get the podcast exporting before I had to leave. And then I met up with Tonya in near Bryant Park, because she also lives in Manhattan, and we met up to go together. And anyway, the subway was all messed up that weekend. Loads of works going on, loads of lines were down, not working. In the end, we ended up catching an Uber to gauge intention, just because we weren't going to get there otherwise. So we got there. There was a crazy line out the door, which was insane. It was just ridiculous. I wasn't expecting that. I mean, I know Plucky Knitter is really popular, but that was just beyond what I was expecting. Anyway, and there were some diehard Plucky fans in that queue. It was crazy. Anyway, we got in eventually when the store opened at 11. We got there about maybe half an hour beforehand, and we got into the store. There was like this mad rush of people going in, and we got in, and I got to Gauge Intention has quite a large space, because they use a lot of their space for teaching classes. So there's lots of tables and stuff in the back, cafeteria style, but the actual section where the yarn is quite a small space. So there's all these people crammed into this small space, and we kind of got swept up in with it. And so this Gilded Age yarn was basically the display unit I ended up at first. So I picked up these 4 skeins. I was actually looking for a really nice red to get a sweater quantity of, but there was only 2 skeins of the red colour that I liked, and I knew I needed at least 3. So I picked up these golden yellow ones, because I really like these as well. So I picked these up, and so I was just holding those, and I was trying to get to the next display section in front of me, but I couldn't move. And it got to a point where I was literally being shoved into the display unit that I was standing next to, and I was like, okay, that's it. I need to get out of here, because this is craziness. So I got myself out of there, and I got to the back of the shop where the tables were, and I caught up with Kristen and Jenny, who were waiting there, and they were just like, oh, that crowd is scary. So they just stayed out of it altogether and went to the back, and I went and joined them. And then Tonya finally came over, and a couple of others who we're meeting up with there as well showed up, and in the end we all decided the crowd was just too crazy, so we all just went and sat in the back corner, literally the furthest away we could get from the yarn. We went and sat in a corner, got ourselves set up, and just started knitting and chatting. We spent about 2.5 hours there. It was so much fun. And then as the crowds died down, every now and again 1 or 2 of us would get up and go check out what was left and see what yarn we wanted. And I actually went back twice to have a look, just to make sure there wasn't something else that I would have preferred. And I realised, no, the first thing I grabbed was actually the thing that I liked, was the yarn and the colourway that I liked the most out of what was available, and the different bases that were available. There was their 100% cashmere base that I was looking at, and I was like, oh, this is really soft. Obviously it's cashmere. And I picked up a skein of the Aran weight cashmere, and I thought, you know what, I could make a hat for Perry out of this, because he'd really love it. Like he will only really wear really soft stuff. well, he'd really love that. So I asked how much it was, and I almost cried. I went and put the yarn back straight away, and I was just like, I love him, but no, I will not spend that much money on a skein of yarn to make him a hat that he will probably wear once a year. No. Maybe if we lived somewhere really cold where he'd get more wear out of it, I would consider paying that much money for a skein of yarn to make him a hat. But like I said, I almost cried by how expensive it was. So he's not getting a cashmere hat, at least not anytime soon. Anyway, after a couple of hours, Carlene had shown up. She showed up a little bit later because she met up with a friend or something earlier, but we had a really great time, and in the end we left because they were going to have a class later that afternoon, and we were taking up one of the tables they needed. So we headed off. We took that as our cue to leave, and we headed off and headed down to Argyle Yarn Company, which is in the neighbourhood where Jenny lives, another part of Brooklyn. And that was really fun. It's a really cute little store. It's really small, but they do carry a really good range and variety of yarn. They have everything from Madelinetosh and Malabrigo, Quince & Co. I believe they're the only stockist of Quince & Co. in New York City. But they also have a lot more of the affordable commercial brands like Cascade and Barocco, Patons Croix, and stuff like that. So it was really nice to see that they had a good variety. And that's where I got the pom-pom makers and stuff like that. And they were really helpful. They were really friendly people as well, really friendly staff. It was just really nice to see them. And yeah, that was really good fun. And then after that, by the time we were done there, it was probably about 3 o'clock. We all realised that we were quite hungry at that point, and we hadn't eaten anything all day. It's kind of what happens when you get swept up into these events, knitting or other sorts of events. You kind of forget to eat sometimes. And so we ended up going to Connecticut Muffin, which was a sort of like a little deli type store down the road that Jenny took us to, and we all got sandwiches, and I think a couple people had soup and stuff, and we sat outside. There were some benches outside the store. Then we sat there and chatted some more and ate our food, and it was just really nice to get to hang out with other people who enjoy the same things you do, have the same interests as you. And it was really nice because I don't get to do that very often anymore, so it was nice to do that. And and I'd seen, so this is where the Machita comes in. I'd been watching, I was so far behind on all my podcasts at that point that before I met up with the girls, I made sure to catch up on all of their podcasts before I met them, so I was up to date. And I'd seen on Tanya's podcast, Knitting Spring, that she was using some Malabrigo Machita for a project that she was doing, and I was like, I really want to try that yarn. I haven't been able to find it. I tried looking for it last time I was in New York, but I couldn't find it anywhere, and I wasn't sure where to get it from. Anyway, so when I saw Tanya, I said, where did you get your Machita from? Because I've been looking for that everywhere. And she said, oh, she got it from Knitty City. I was like, okay, I just hadn't seen it or couldn't find it last time I was there. She was like, yeah, no, I'll go with you. I know where they keep it. So I said, okay, fine, let's go. And so after we'd had some food and everything, it got to about 4:30, and we realised we really need to leave now if we want to get there before they close at 6 o'clock. So we left, we got the subway. And like I said, the subway was messed up that weekend. So Knitty City is on 79th and Broadway, well, roughly. And that's the station you need to get off at. And we ended up at 125th Street. It was way out of the way, and we were constantly on the wrong train, or the train didn't stop at the stations we needed it to. It was a bit of a nightmare. In the end, we got there with 10 minutes to spare. Running into the store, past the counter, past the till, as the guy yelled at us, we're closing in 10 minutes. And we were like, we know. We just ran straight to the back of the store where the Machita was. I quickly browsed through. They didn't have too many colour options, so these two were the obvious choice for me because the others didn't really speak to me that much. And we paid up about 2 minutes before they closed and left, and it was just kind of like, kind of like moment. It wouldn't have been a big deal if I hadn't gotten any, because I knew where it was now and I could get it next time I was there, but it was more a case of we'd spent all that time and effort to get there just, and then to have not got there in time would have been a real disappointment at that point. But anyway, so that was pretty much the end of that trip. And by the time we got back to Bahrain. I was so jet lagged. I got really hit hard by jet lag this time, which is really strange because normally it's not that bad for me. But I made the dangerous choice earlier this week to take a nap. I took what was supposed to be a 20-minute nap, and I ended up sleeping for almost 2 hours. I got woken up in the end by a very angry Derek, who was rather disappointed that he hadn't been fed yet. He just climbed onto the bed and started meowing at my face, like right up into my face. It was just like, meow, feed me. So that finally woke me up, and it was horrible because I was all groggy and like grumpy and just not very happy at that point. I was like, this is not good. I think my sleep is finally sort of back on track-ish. I'm still not sleeping that great at the moment. And then obviously now I'm sick, so that's not helping the situation either. If you hadn't noticed, I've reorganised my yarn cabinet. Down here now, what I've done is I've separated out my sweater quantities into those organza bags that you get when you order online from some yarn places. So now I have all my sweater quantities in sort of garments. Like, these aren't all going to be sweaters, some will be like tops, I guess. It's not technically sweaters, I think. Then I have my rainbows along here. No, this is not working very well. Rainbows along here. So this bottom row is the Iron Band, which is Icelandic lace yarn. And then I've got Knit Picks palette. And then in the corner here is, like I said, that's the sock yarn that I've put aside for the Sockathon, doing with Marsha. There's some of my leftover Map and Tosh from my exploration station. Then up here is my worsted and bulky yarns. Then I have in the middle most of my commercial sock yarns. And the end here is my lace. Up here is my hand-dyed and other sock yarns. Some more sock yarn in the middle. And this is some of my other hand-dyed indie fingering weight yarn that's not sock yarn. If that makes sense. It's a lot of single plies in that one. Yeah. I'm not feeling too great at the moment, I have to be honest. But I did all of that, and that was fine. And then, what else am I doing? Oh, and I reorganised all of my knitwear and stuff, and I decided I'm going to try and take back a bunch of stuff to the UK to donate to charities that hand out hand knits and stuff to homeless or other people who require additional warmth during the winter. I figure I have a lot of stuff from when I first started knitting that's acrylic or other sort of acrylic blends, machine washable, easy care items that I just either won't wear, won't use, or, you know, all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to donate those so that someone else can get some use out of them, and I hope that they will help someone. So I'm looking forward to doing that. As long as I can get them to the UK in my suitcase, I will be donating those. And then, what else was I going to say? Oh, I've had a few requests to do swaps from people, and that's great, and I love doing swaps. And yeah, I'm more than happy to do swaps with people. There are 2/3 that I'm committed to doing by the end of this year, or that I've already committed to do by the end of this year, and that's fine. Those will be okay. But there are a few people who've got in touch with me who I've already replied to, all of them saying that I wouldn't be in a position to do a swap with them until the new year, which is fine. But I think from now I'm going to put a hold on swaps and requests for swaps and stuff until a couple of months into the new year. Those who I've already discussed with, I can do in the new year, and that's fine, but probably going to put a hold on doing swaps until around February, March time, just because I do have a lot on my plate at the moment. And next year's going to be quite busy as well. So at least the early part of next year is going to be quite busy as well. So I don't want to overstretch myself too much. I am planning on doing a swap within the group in the new year at some point. It'll probably be sort of towards the end of January. So keep your eyes out for that. I'm really looking forward to organising that one. It's going to be pretty fun. And yeah, so hopefully that'll be good fun. What else was I going to talk about? Let me just check my notes. Yes, a really fun event that's coming up at the end of this week. I'm going to be in the UK, like I've mentioned, from Thursday. I get back on Thursday morning. And on Sunday, Helen Stewart from the Curious Handmade podcast is hosting a Christmas party in London, a Knitters Christmas party. She's calling it Curious Handmade Crimbo Party. So I've decided to go to that. I bought my ticket. That's going to be lots of fun. I'm really looking forward to catching up with other UK-based knitters who are coming. There'll be some other podcasters there as well, which will be a lot of fun to catch up with. And there's a Secret Santa, which I'm taking part in, and that should be lots and lots of fun. And yeah, I'm just really looking forward to it. It should be really good. And like I said, it's just really nice to spend time with other knitters and people who enjoy doing the same things that you do. And it's one of those things, like October for me was a very difficult month. I wasn't particularly happy in October. It wasn't a very, it was a very difficult month overall. But November has shaped up to be a much better month. I will have by the end of this week, whilst I was in the US, there were 2 occasions where I got to meet up with knitters and friends, some who I'd met before, some who I hadn't met for the first time. And then now at the end of this week, I'll be meeting up with another bunch of knitters and friends and stuff. And so it's just been a much more social month, I guess is probably the right way to put it. And it's just been so much more enjoyable. And I've been a lot happier this month, I think, overall. So November's shaped up to be a much nicer month than October did. And I'm looking forward to the rest of this year. It's not much left of this year, to be honest, at this point. It's only, 6 weeks? But yeah, I am looking forward to it. So yes, thank you to everyone who's been in touch, sent me messages and stuff. I've really enjoyed hearing from you. The social side of podcasting and being involved in the knitting community has really done a lot for me since I started podcasting, and I don't think anyone can really realise how much it's helped me over the last few months. So thank you. A few other things really quickly I wanted to mention. Holiday knitting, I am still undecided exactly what I will be taking for holiday knitting. It will be very much dependent on how much space I have in my suitcase, so I haven't got anything to show you on that front because I haven't decided. Probably be a few pairs of socks and a shawl maybe to start with, and then I'll see whatever else I can fit in. Like I've already mentioned, I leave really early Thursday morning, about 1 a.m. So yeah, I've got a lot of packing to do. I've got a lot of things to organise and just get myself sorted. Perry's coming a week after I go, so he's going to sort out the cats and stuff, but I still have a lot of things I need to set up and get organised and all of that. I need to film next week's acquisitions segment because I have a bunch of stuff that's come in that I just haven't had time to share with you all today, but I'm not going to lug it all the way to the UK just to podcast it from there, which is just really silly. So I'll be filming that today, and then it'll be on next week's episode. So yeah, so thank you for joining me today. If you want to see what I got in my Hedgehog Fibers sock club, just stay tuned after I've said the goodbyes and you can check it out then. And if you don't want to be surprised, if you don't want to ruin the surprise and see what I got, then thank you so much for joining me. If you have any questions for me, please let me know in the podcast group. There's a questions and answer thread. If you have any suggestions for a good deep pillar, please let me know. And thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a lovely week, and I hope to catch up with you all next week. So take care. Bye. Right. So for those of you who want to stay and see what I got for my Hedgehog Sock Club, I will tell you right now, I opened up the packet and I was quite disappointed, I think, with the colours. I really had high hopes for the Hedgehog Sock Yarn Club because I looked at what the past colourways were, and for the most part I liked the majority of everything that they sent out. But for this club, I didn't like a lot of what they sent, to be quite honest. Out of the 6 colours, you get 2 different colours, colourways each month. So you get 6 skeins of yarn over 3 months. So I only liked 2 out of the 6. So I'd say that was not that great. So the 2 that I got this month, they're not ugly. They're just not my colours, if that makes sense. These are the colours. So this one here is called Tickle. As you can see, it's mostly a white base, which I like, I don't mind that. But it's predominantly pink speckles and splotches. It's got little hints, little bits of blue and some orange and some like purple. If it had been more of the blue and more of the purple and orange, then it would probably be okay, but it is very much predominantly pink. And I went on the thread, and most of everyone else's who've already got them and posted pictures are similar. Look, I really like these speckles down here, but I just can't get over all the pink. It's just too pink for me. And this one is called Rose Hip, which again is really beautiful. Beautiful. I love this strip, this green with this sort of like orange and the hints of purple in here, but it is predominantly pink. This is very bright hot pink colour, which out of all the colours of pink that I don't like, hot pink is probably up there with baby pink that I don't like. I just don't see myself wearing anything made out of this, which is quite sad really, because this is on their new base, which is 400 meters in 100 grams. So it's more yarn in 100 grams than their usual base. And it's 90% superwash merino, 10% nylon still. But so I'm quite disappointed with that, to be honest. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with these. I destashed the one from last month that I didn't like, and I used one of the ones from the previous month for a swap that I did. But I'm not sure what I'm going to do with these two. So if you are watching this and you like one or both of these colours and are interested in either purchasing or swapping with me for them, please let me know. I will take these two with me to the UK. So if there is anyone who's UK based or based in Europe or the US or anywhere, and you're willing to pay the postage from the UK to get them to you and the price of the yarn, or want to swap with me for some other yarn that you may have, hedgehog fibres or other, please get in touch with me. Send me a message on Ravelry, and it will be on a first come first served basis. And if I haven't swapped or sold them to anyone by the time I get back, then I'll just destash them on Ravelry. I think it's just, I was sitting here and I was trying to match them up with other yarns that I could pair them with and other things, that trying to think of something that I could do with them, and it's just too pink. It's just too pink. I just wouldn't use them. I wouldn't wear what I use. And the other thing as well is I don't know anyone who likes pink that much out of like my friends and stuff, that I could knit them something, that I could knit something for someone else out of this. There's just no one that I know who would appreciate. There's no one that I know who likes pink, like this kind of pink, enough, who I think would also appreciate something hand knit. That would make me want to knit something for them out of this. So yeah, I think unfortunately this is going to have to go. It's quite sad really, because I was really looking forward to really liking the yarn, and so it's quite disappointing really, I think. I didn't sign up for the next sock club. I think what I'm just going to have to do is stay tuned and wait for a update and just pick the yarn that I like. I really want to do more or try out some different sock clubs and stuff, and I really thought Hedgehog Fibres was going to be a safe bet because they do a lot of beautiful variegated colourways. I just really wasn't expecting to have two very pink skeins in 1 month. I kind of would have thought they'd have done, if they were going to go with the whole pink thing, they'd do one pink and one that would be very different. But yeah, so I was quite disappointed with that, I have to say. Beautifully soft yarn. They are beautiful colourways, they're just not for me. So with that, I'm going to say goodbye again. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I gotta go film next week's acquisition segment, but thank you so much, and I guess I will see you next week. Take care. Bye.